All right, I'm gonna start because I know we're on a schedule here. As Billy said, I'm Rebecca Herson, and I run a company called The Lean Marketer. I'm a fractional CMO, which means that I do all different types of B2B marketing, from messaging, which I'm going to talk about today, to analyst relations, helping companies build their first website, basically a little bit of everything. And then when they grow big and don't need me anymore, I help them transition to a real CMO, or a full-time CMO, I should say. I'm going to be sharing with you today my process for building a company's messaging, and you should leave here today with a toolbox and a process that I'm happy to share with you. So the process, okay, it doesn't seem to want to build, but that's okay. It's a 6-part process. The first 4 are kind of like the homework. That's the prep work that you guys will do, and then comes the main event, which is the face-to-face workshop and all the iterations on the content. And I'll go into each one a little bit. So, okay, the questionnaire. Why do we start with a questionnaire? First of all, there's usually a lot of people involved in putting together the company's message. We call these stakeholders. And you want to give the stakeholders, first of all, the sense that something's happening. We're starting a process here. This is the beginning. There will be a middle and an end. But the questionnaire gives each of them a chance to really get their thoughts together before the main event of the workshop. And it also neutralizes any, sometimes there's more powerful voices, less powerful voices in a company. And having each one of them respond to the questionnaire individually in their own time, privately, it gives each person a chance to really express themselves. Also for you, the brand leader, it gives you a hint as to what's to come, because when you look at the responses to the questionnaire, you're going to know in advance how exciting your workshop is going to be. Are people really in agreement? Are they pretty far away from each other? And so forth. Now, in terms of what to ask, I like to base my questionnaire on Simon Sinek's Start With Why. That's why I've got the little Start With Why over there. And the Gartner Go-to-Market template. As long as you can answer after the questionnaire and, of course, the workshop, the why, what, and how of the company, as well as fill in the Gartner Go-to-Market template, you're golden. So at the bottom, you see a prompt for generative AI. This process can be shortened and helped and improved by using generative AI at almost every step along the process. So I'm going to give you some prompts and ideas of how to use that. So in this case, you can ask Gen AI, whatever your favorite tool is, to come up with the questions if you aren't sure what to ask yourself. This is the Gartner Go-to-Market template. It's a standard template. The bold words at the beginning of each line are the template part, and then you fill in the parts that are in brackets. And if you can, it's deceptively simple, by the way. It takes usually quite some time to be able to complete this, and it's one of the outputs of your workshop. Okay, now we're moving on to more of the homework, which is audience and market research. And this is something I'm assuming as marketers you probably have a pretty good handle on, so I'll kind of go through it pretty quickly. You can ask generative AI to give you demographic and psychographic aspects of your target market, telling, let's say, ChatGPT what your company does and who you're targeting. Let's say I am at an anti-money laundering software company and I'm targeting BSA officers at banks in the United States. What are the demographic and psychographic aspects of this target audience? That's one way to start. And then beyond that, I would say there's also a part that you probably are going to need to do yourself, which is go through people's LinkedIn profiles, collect about 10 at least, and see what they have in common. Put together a spreadsheet of all the different aspects that you think are valuable and helpful for you to figure out more about your audience. You can also have Gen AI help you with this. Some tools will pull information from password protected sites like LinkedIn. Some tools won't. Some tools will pull it once and then not again. So you need to play around with it a bit. You can also download profiles I just learned this recently, but you can download a full LinkedIn profile to a PDF and then upload it to ChatGPT and have it analyze and say, upload 3, 4, 5 of them and say, what do these profiles have in common? It also helps, however, to look at the profiles yourself. Here's one example. One of my clients, Refined Intelligence, is an anti-money lender. Oops, I went back. Okay. Oh, it really doesn't do the... Okay, we lost something here. These are 3 profiles of ideal customers. And if you notice in very small print, each one of them has CAMs, either next to their name or underneath their name. And I thought to myself, this is not something I did with ChatGPT, but I was like, what is this? And it turns out it's a very important anti-money laundering certification. So once I learned that, I investigated more about what is this CAMS and what would appeal to people that are studying for this certification or learning it and so forth. I think, no? Okay, maybe an old version? I don't know. Okay, competitor research. This is not feature by feature comparison. This is not a deep research of the competition. This is literally like, look at their homepage, look at their LinkedIn page, look at their about paragraph on their press releases. You want to understand what are the key messages that your competition is using, and where's the white space that where you can stand out. Okay, so here's just one example. Again, Refined Intelligence, and your company's not here. We've got 2 on the left that are basically saying, hey, we're the best. No more, first of all, very, very focused on risk, no more risk less, fight financial crime with the industry leader. In other words, we're the best at fighting crime. And then another one down underneath, no, we're the best. And then on the top right, you have save time and money. Okay, also an important value, but sort of standard. And then you have Refine, who's saying catching the good guys, which is like, okay, they're a fraud-fighting anti-money laundering company. This stands out. Okay, we get a lot of interest and intrigue just based on this message alone. Obviously, the product has to back it up, but the message itself does stand out. Here's another example from a different type of company. They're called Magdent Med. It's an innovative dental implant company. When I looked at the competition of this company, I noticed that, as you can see, the top 2, those are 2 different competitors, both of which are talking about the surfaces of the implants, because surfaces are important about implants because that's the part that touches the gum. That's the part that can really cause an infection and all sorts of problems down the line. So 2 of them were focusing on implant surfaces. 2 of them were focusing on how innovative they were. And we wanted to differentiate Magdent, so and they actually have a really strong differentiating factor, which is that they are the only dental implant that uses electromagnetic waves, literally inside the implant, that goes into the gums in order to promote healing. So we really played on that. We said electromagnetic healing, go beyond the surface. So not only did we highlight their differentiator, but we also had like a little dig at the other guys who were like, no, it's not about the surface. You need to go beyond the surface. And in the case of Magdent Med, you can just see the before and the after of their website. In the beginning, it was about this completely new technology. And then after the messaging process, it was electromagnetic healing, go beyond the surface. Customer interviews. These are really important. I know sometimes, depending on the type of your personality, type of marketer you are, you may love talking to customers, you may hate talking to customers, but when you're doing messaging, you must speak to customers, because your customers know why they're using your solution. They know why they chose it over the competition, and they can practically write your messaging for you, quite honestly. So I would say talk to at least 3 people, 5 to 7 if you can, and record the conversations, because you're going to want to get every single word, something that you might have missed while you were actually listening to them, you might see in the transcript afterwards. Definitely put them through a an automated transcription solution. I use something called Descript, which is fantastic, but there's plenty of others, Fireflies and so forth, and you can summarize those with ChatGPT. I discovered a new tool, new to me anyways, recently called Opus Clip, which takes a video, you just upload it, and it automatically turns it into like 20 clips, separate clips. So once you have all these interviews, you can then use them in your workshop to prove your point, right? If you're getting a hard time, or you want to say, no, this is the message that is really resonating, show them a video. It's going to be much more effective than reading from the transcript. If you don't have customers to interview, there's ways around it. You can listen to recorded conversations. A lot of companies use Gong these days, and that's a great source of information. You can interview your salespeople, assuming you have. They're the closest to your customers, so if you can't actually interview the customers, talk to the sales. And then something I tried really recently, which is eye-opening, is you can actually interview ChatGPT. Like, treat ChatGPT like they are your customer. Tell them who your customer is. Like in this case, I wrote, you are an oral surgeon performing 3 to 5 implants a month. What are some common issues you encounter? And it gave me all the issues they encounter. And then I followed up with what are some concrete steps you can take, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. And obviously, it's not perfect. It's not an actual customer, but it's definitely can give you some food for thought. Okay, we've reached the main event, the face-to-face workshop. My face-to-face workshop, when I run it, is I base it on the Google 3-hour brand sprint. Miro, which is a great mind mapping tool, they have a free set of templates that you can just download. That's what you can see on the, by the way, these were all animated, but whatever, it doesn't matter. You can download it from their site, and they really go through like all the aspects of what you need to, the information you need to get and what you need to discuss in your workshop, which of course is most of the material that you've already covered from your questionnaire, but now is a chance to discuss it together, to reach some level of consensus, and also to share all of this amazing information that you've gathered from all the homework that you did. So how do you make it work? First of all, keep it small. You know the saying, right? 10 Israelis, 20 opinions. Keep it focused. Everybody needs to know that there's leave your phone in the other room, or whatever it's gonna take to make sure that people are focused, and that you have a goal. And if you can, even before the workshop, decide who's the decision maker, because you may not all agree. You may not actually achieve consensus, but somebody needs to be sort of the final word. And by the way, it's not the end of the world if at the end of the 3-hour, which I'd say is probably the maximum amount of time for the workshop, you haven't achieved 2 minutes? Okay. You haven't achieved your dream message. You can do another round. You do whatever you need to do, but you just don't want it to end up taking months and months and months and never deciding, okay? So you need to know that there's going to be a decision at the end, and you can be strong because you've done your homework. As far as the messages themselves, this may be the time where you want to bring in a copywriter, or if you have a copywriter on your team. I've got a list here of the different things that I think are important to have as deliverables. Of course, your key values, tone of voice, target audience, et cetera, et cetera. You can read that. I think Billy's going to be sending out the presentation. And this is another aspect where ChatGPT can be a great brainstorming partner. You've generated all kinds of content of key messages, key points in your workshop and all the research that you did. And ChatGPT can help you hone that into your what, how, why, into your short company description. Of course, you need to read what ChatGPT wrote, or Claude, or whichever is your favorite tool. But you can do a lot of back and forth. It's like having your own copywriter / intern / researcher, etc. This is just an example of what, how, why, what, how that we did for Magdent Med. And then I do strongly recommend that after the messages have been defined, you do a sanity check. Why? Because you've been working in this bubble for a few weeks at least, right? And sometimes people kind of fall in love with the idea of what they've come up with, and then you start to bring it out to the world and you're like, whoa, and it blows right back in your face. Really recently I had a situation where, the CEO was sure that we need to use, this exact wording, and then we discussed it with the sales team, and they were like, our customers are not gonna understand what the heck you're talking about. So we took it back to the drawing board, and it was a very valuable and important interaction. If you work with industry analysts, do an inquiry with them about your messaging, get some feedback, and so forth, and then share it. I don't need to teach you how to share it because you're all marketers. Wonderful. And then, last slide, I swear. How do you know when you're done? Are we there yet? First of all, you can A/B test, and A/B testing is not just about the clicks on your Google Ads and your homepage and the conversion. Of course, conversion is important. You can A/B test even at an event. The COO of a company that I work with just came back from 2 events in the United States. He said about like 100 people while he was there, and he said almost every single person I talked to, I pitched the message a little bit differently. He came back with such a much more polished version of the message. It was amazing. And now, of course, we're in the process of kind of like implementing it on everything. But it was a really, really valuable process that he did, and he kept track of everything, people's experiences. So how do you know when you've succeeded? When people understand what you're selling and they understand what your differentiators are. That's when you know when you've nailed the messaging. And then when the company starts to make changes, like adding new products or new markets or whatever, you can start the process all over again. I'm happy to answer any questions if we have time.